It's been over a week since Buckingham Palace informed the public that King Charles had been diagnosed with a form of cancer and will step back from royal duties while he undergoes treatment. While we don't know much about the severity of the sickness or his treatment plan, we know that he has his family and palace staff there every step of the way. But one royal family member who could step up more is Princess Anne, who has always been dubbed the hardest working royal. Princess Anne is King Charles's little sister, the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip's second child and only daughter, with a trio of brothers. The Princess Royal could see herself working even harder to help out her older brother while he endures his treatment. Here to talk us through how this could happen is royal author Hugo Vickers. Hugo, how do you see Princess Anne's role changing while King Charles is on leave from royal duties? Do you see her working more in the spotlight?
Well, of course, if you want something done, you always ask a busy man or a busy woman. And there's no one, as you rightly say, there's no one busier than Princess Anne, but she would find time to help him. I've noticed actually that ever since he became king, she has been extremely supportive of him. And we've seen them together at regimental occasions. And you're absolutely right. I think she is the one person who can really step up and help out on this occasion. Queen Camilla too, of course, but a lot of the time she will be needing to spend with the king. So who better than Princess Anne?
Is it more likely that King Charles will be calling on his sister to help out in various public events, even more so than Prince William?
Well, Prince William, of course, has also got a problem because Catherine, his wife, is unwell, and he has always tried to balance, and I completely understand why, his duties as a father, as a husband, with the royal duties. And with her being unwell, he has school runs to do. I'm sure he will do a great deal, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be Princess Anne who sort of, and she's such a good person at sort of steadying the ship altogether. I mean, she's completely brilliant at everything she does. You should always listen to everything she says because she talks always extremely good sense.
Mm. Hugo, she's often been overlooked compared to the more, in the spotlight royals, if you will. But if you're the average royal consumer, but she is dubbed the hardest working royal member. Can you walk me through how she kind of got this term?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. But I go back a long way, and I can remember that before Princess Diana came along, in a sense, she had to fulfill the role of this sort of glamorous, if you like, sort of clothes horse princess, which didn't really fit, actually. As soon as the Princess of Wales came along, Diana, this sort of liberated Princess Anne to be what she really was, which is an executive princess. She's so like her father. She has the best qualities of both parents. She's very direct. She's very thoughtful. She's highly intelligent. She's extremely well organized. She can be very amusing, and she can also be at times, if necessary, slightly brusque. So that's the sort of person you've got. And the interesting thing is that she takes the same philosophy, I think, as the Queen and Prince Philip did. She doesn't care a jot what we think about her. She just gets on with the job, which, of course, is what we all ought to do in life.
What is her relationship like with King Charles? Are they close, having been only 2 years apart in age? And obviously, the next one in line is Andrew, who's 10 years younger than Anne.
Well, I think they were close as children, but I get the feeling that they were less close in the more recent years. But you will remember that when the Queen died, Princess Anne was totally brilliant. She stayed with her mother's coffin all the way through, all the journey right down to Windsor for about 10 days. And since then, since he's become king, she understands the role of a member of the royal family is to support the king in whatever way he wishes and help alleviate his burden in whatever way she can. And so that's how I see her stepping up. I say stepping up, she didn't need to step up, but that's what she's done and that's what she's doing.
She's always been there. How different is she personality-wise than her older brother, King Charles?
Well, she's very different. As I keep saying, she's a very sort of executive princess. She's much more like her father, who he always said, he was a pragmatic person, whereas Prince Charles, the now king, takes a more romantic, sort of slightly dreamy view of things, of the various issues. So she is a very organized person and very, very decisive. I mean, I remember once I read a biography of her grandmother, the Prince Philip's mother, Princess Alice, and I spent an hour and a quarter with her. We had a very interesting conversation. She took me on, I wasn't expecting this, about the Franco-Prussian War and all sorts of things. And when I submitted my quotes by return of post, it came, good luck, get on with it. That's her attitude.
Mm. You mentioned this before, but can you take me back to those days when Queen Elizabeth was, a few days away from passing and Princess Anne was at her bedside and she really stepped up? But what kind of, royal characteristics did she show in those vital days?
Well, as she has said herself, it just was fortuitous that she happened to be at Balmoral because she was undertaking duties in Scotland, which is actually where a lot of her duties are undertaken. So she was with her mother, and rather tellingly, apparently, after her mother died, after the Queen died, she came out of the room and she looked a bit shaken, as well she might. And a member of the royal household put his arms around her, which she accepted. But then immediately after that, she said, "Well, thank you very much, but that's not going to happen again." That is her sort of attitude. But after that, she followed the coffin all the way through Scotland, all the way to Edinburgh. She was with it on the way down to London. Obviously, all the London events she took part in. And right up to the time of the funeral, she was actually the only person who followed the coffin directly down to Windsor from London. And she again has said in a documentary that she felt a certain sense of relief when the crown was finally taken off the coffin. Now, if anybody else had said that, they would have said, "Well, hang on a minute, isn't that a bit sort of, I don't know, unsympathetic?" But I think, we completely understand that Princess Anne had been through 10 long days and she had fulfilled her duty to her mother. And now it was time to get on with the
Mm.
new reign. So that's the sort of pragmatic side she has. But I think people were very impressed by the way she supported her mother's coffin all the way, and also that very touching scene at Holyrood House where she actually curtsied to the coffin as it was being brought in. I think that struck a very
Mm.
strong chord with a lot of people.
Do you think that moment in time when Princess Anne really showed such a sympathetic and such a pragmatic approach, as you said, to her mother's passing and that entire, do you think that it's kind of cemented her in the public eye as someone that really can lead, do a more senior role or a leading role in the absence of the king?
Well, actually, I don't think we've ever needed any convincing that that she's capable of anything, Princess Anne. I'll give you another example, if you like, of what she's like. She went to dinner with John Major shortly after he became Prime Minister at 10 Downing Street. And the protocol officer said to the Prime Minister, "I don't know, Prime Minister, I don't know which way we should go in for dinner." Princess Anne overheard him and she said, "Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put them all in order." And the next day, the protocol official said to the Prime Minister, "Well, I'm terribly sorry, Prime Minister. Obviously, I hope that won't happen again, but weren't we lucky to have Princess Anne?" And he, who had sat next to her at dinner, said immediately, "Yes, I wish I could have her in my cabinet." I mean, that shows the sort of caliber of her, I think, the way she's respected.
A jack of all trades. Hugo Vickers, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure.